Don't all jump up at once. Just calm down. Calm down. Yeah, so I think, has anyone else experienced being in a small business and then it gets a little bit bigger and then shit gets a bit weird or it just changes? I have, and that's an ad agency world when an agency gets bought, yeah. And are you one of the senior leadership team, or do you have say into the values of the organisation and all that kind of jazz? Ultimately, I think that as a business grows, all change needs to stem from the top. So it is the founder's responsibility to ensure the values align, the communications align, and people are inspired to come to work every day. And it sounds like if you're at a middle to senior management role, you're feeling the effects of the team reporting to you, who maybe are a bit disgruntled and what the It's crucial that even if you're a one-person team, those goals and those values are articulated and clear to you, so then when the business does ebb and flow, you can embody those and know what you're working towards a shared goal. I think that now would be the time to use your influence and encourage the senior leaders to clarify what those are, so then you can confidently articulate that to your team and embody that yourself. I have concerns that if that's not done sooner rather than later, the organisation could grow at such a rate where those beautiful people and the values and culture becomes dispersed and a little bit unclear. So I think that organisations that have done that really well are General Assembly and Spotify and Lululemon, who are really clear on their values. And I wonder whether you could display your leadership abilities and clearly your initiative and bravery. She's got bravery putting up her hand right in front of 100 people to say, hey, it occurs to me that it's brilliant we're growing at such a great rate. It occurs to me that there's an opportunity to clarify what our values and brands stands for and what our people want and need. And can I be a champion for this within the organisation? Give them all the credit, even though it was your idea, small steps. And then look at rolling this out through a communication plan. And as a senior leader, I would say she's ambitious, she's articulate, and she's displaying leadership skills. And if you're able to do that before the tipping point when the organisation gets really, really big, there's a really good chance that you can be one of those key decision makers because you're driving that growth. Because clearly, culture and people is really important to you. And if I was a leader, I would see a spark within you and I'd want to foster and encourage that. Yeah, because that always pisses me off about presentations. Like, I was broke, now I'm rich. It's like, well, how did you? Oh, sad, now I'm happy, be happy. Yeah, I get it, yeah. So it took ages. And it took like years of therapy and all that, positive thinking and stuff. But in terms of tactics, when I came back from my spiritual experience in New York, I met with a friend, Lara, and I said, I think I want to maybe be a speaker one day. And she didn't laugh, which is amazing. And then she said, okay, babe, what do you want to talk about? I was like, I don't know. And she said, well, why don't you get a blog on Medium? And why don't you start blogging? And she said, you can sync that with your Twitter account, but if you don't want to, that's cool. And that means you've got an audience of, so that was actually quite reassuring for me. It helped me develop my voice. And so I started writing how-tos. And I was like, how to? And so during that how-to process, I realized that I had a little notepad of all my kind of tactics that I've learned from therapists over the years that I had not implemented. But I took those tactics and I was like, all right, so what does this look like? How would I get rid of shitty people in my life? I'll do a people audit, right? And I mapped that out and wrote that out. And then I said, oh, Lara, you do a people audit, don't you? And she's like, what the hell is that? So I shared that on Medium. And then one person in my network said, oh, hey, I saw your post on Medium. It was remotely helpful. And I was like, what? That was cool. That was great. It was enough validation. So I did another one. And I was like, well, publish that to my 2 followers. And I was like, publish and then head under the desk. And then as a result, I started to develop a bit of this is helpful. And then when I started to feel a little bit more comfortable about using the past tense, I had anxiety and depression instead of I'm in a haze of hell currently. And just feeling just testing out that bravery or scheduling my bravery for a little when I met people or people I knew and loved. And they'd say, oh, that burnout story, I totally relate. Like almost everyone I spoke to was like, oh, whoa, have I felt that? I don't know, there was a name for that. And so then I started talking to people such as General Assembly, and they were like, oh, would you like to come and do a talk about that? And then that was like a little cool. And then I started this thing called the I Want list, which is on happinessconcierge.com.au/I want. And it's a task which asks you to write, I want, until the actual truth comes out. So I had sat down and wrote an I want list, and I was like, I'd like to be a great PR, have a great wardrobe. And then as I wrote stuff that was true to me, I live in a share house, and I was like, I felt really nervous that other people would see it. And even writing down, motivational speaker, I was like, my hand was shaking because I hadn't ever articulated that before. Once I had that I want list, I should have brought it with me, it's like crumpled up. I was like, okay, I've done these before, I've done nothing about them. So the difference between that is that I took that I want list and then I took little steps to achieve that. So if I want to be a motivational speaker, well, I better get some experience. I better start telling people about it. And once I started telling people over coffee, I'd love to be a speaker. I don't know where to start. Do you have any recommendations? A friend of mine was like, I'd rather throw up and then eat my throw up than actually public speak. And I have to MC this event tomorrow night. And I was just like, dun, 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 dun. I was just like, that's literally a dream come true. And he's like, great, can you do it tomorrow night? That would be amazing. And then someone in the crowd was like, hey, I saw you talked about your experience in your MC. Clearly you do this for a living. And I was like, yes. Fuck. Would you like to host this other event? And I was like, yes. And then at that event, they were like, how do you say no? And I was like, oh, you say no like saying, like a no sandwich. That sounds great. It's not the right opportunity for me. All the best. And I said, oh, it's on happinessconcierge.com.au. And then that night I raced home and I was like, new blog post, how to say no. Publish immediately. And then 2 hours later, I was like, as discussed this evening on social, here is the say no worksheet. So I did that for like a year, because I didn't really know what I was talking about yet. This alone is a miracle from Bezos. So I took the feedback on those mini micro moments, and I still have my PR job now 3 days a week, so I balance that with income at the same time. And then I just kind of tested what people responded to, because I could talk about anything, including Beyonce, but not limited to Beyonce, for all of my life to come. But I found that people responded to the burnout, because everyone can relate to that feeling of just, that horrible feeling. And people responded to tactical ways they could implement change into their lives rather than get inspired. Like, hey, I'd love to be inspired, but how do I physically do that today? Like, what's the takeaway? Yeah, you get it, right? Yes, exactly. So a challenge that I had that I struggled with my whole 20s was that there was a lot of cool talk about being authentic. And I was like, cool, got to be authentic as well as successful. Shit, there's so much to do. Like, okay, be yourself. And I just didn't really know what that meant. And so my therapist once said to me, I said, I'd love to be myself at work. I'd love to not wear black for once in my crazy life. And I think we've achieved quite a few milestones, thank you. And she said, yeah, Rach, but you don't need to hey, here's my life story. You can just put your toe in, just dip a little bit in and see what people respond to. So if I was at events or if I was just at work even, and I'd be known this colleague for however many years, and I'd just say, so they'd say, how was your weekend? I'd be like, good, thanks, how was yours? And I soon learned that that lack of vulnerability actually doesn't help anyone learn anything about you. And then I'm like, why the fuck are they telling me I should go to this place? It's so not me. And my therapist said, do you think they've had an opportunity to get to know you? And I was like, suppose not. Okay. So then I started dipping my toe in the water and I'd say things like, good. So I looked after the dog that I share with my ex-girlfriend and her ex-girlfriend and her ex-girlfriend, and it's like a dog mom situation. And that happened, which was like reward, funny, people can relate to that. Oh yeah. Like that I was worried that was going to happen to me, so yeah, we're going to recognise that. And then I got that reward of people like, oh, that's funny. And then the next day, people are like, hey, so how's your little Labradoodle? And you're like, queer, weird community. And I was like, cool. And then so that over 6 months, I was like, oh, it's okay to be myself. This is all right. And that's just not like a queer angst thing. That's just it's okay to be yourself. But I felt really nervous about that. And on Facebook, I'm not someone who shares a lot, but I have a lot of people who feel really comfortable doing that. And it wasn't because I was like, I want to wait until I'm the Happiness Concierge. It's just that I did all that word vomit just privately on medium.com. And then once I was more comfortable with what this was all about, I deleted all that old shit and saved it, and then just picked the 2 that people responded to. So total trial and error. But if that's something that you're a bit nervous about, I'd do a bit of an introverty type thing, which is like schedule your bravery and just do a little bit at a time. Yeah, it's hard to do that as an all or nothing person, but we got there. Hey. Yeah. Such a good question. So ultimately, you're in a service industry, yes? So people are buying, the company. Is it a big agency or a boutique? Yeah, cool. Ultimately, people are buying a service and they have come to your company, but ultimately they're buying you. So that's not to say like, hey, we're going to, get you in the Courier Mail, and also, did you see the footy in the weekend? I'm a total fan about that. Like, it's not about that. But it's just like, so, was that convincing? Is that a footy thing? Is that like okay. Learning. But ultimately, people are buying, they want to work with people they like. And that's not to say, you have to bring your whole weirdo to the party. But I do work with CEOs and executives, and I'm in a suit or, I'm this kind of get up, and I'm thinking, they don't really want to know about the Labradoodle search, and they're not really going to totes relate. But then I can find something common and be a little bit more myself and just be like, hey man, how was your weekend? And he'd be like, good, I ran a marathon because, I'm a really top performing executive. And I'd be like, awesome, I tried that once, nearly died. And then they'd just kind of laugh, and then I can feel like, oh, cool, I can just be myself. So I think it's not about let the freak flag fly, be yourself, be happy. That's a lot to do, right? But I think it's just about little testing the waters and know that yes, you are under a brand's auspices, but ultimately it's a people service. Yeah, people are buying you. And if you can show that you are courageous and confident and or in my case, a staged introvert who has extroversion parts in me, then they kind of think, oh, that's cool. They'll probably use that to get on the phone to the media, and the media will like them because of that. And if they like that person, I can pay that person to call the media, which is a good return on investment. So I think, as long as you are chatting to people in a way that feels natural to you, they'll follow you. So, for example, at the PR agency I work for, I brought clients with me because they were like, oh, I don't really give a shit who you work for. You get results. I don't know how you do it. I don't really understand what the purr is, but I'm going to come with you. and that still happens. So, but as a PR, we can workshop that after this because there's so much to talk about on that issue. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, I'm not into reading books. I don't get it. But I love podcasts, and I love Savage Love, which is a sex and relationship podcast because of the following reasons. Dan Savage is a queer guy based in Seattle, and at the start of his Q&A, where people call up and be like, hey, so I'm in a threesome, logistically, how do I organise that? He starts off his section with a discussion of the political landscape from both sides, and then he also, when he answers people's most intimate questions, he displays non-judgment, problem-solving skills, and he also empowers people to go away and be their inner weirdo selves and be proud of that. So it's not like a business thing, but that Dan Savageness, I try to incorporate my Rachel version of that. Do not ask me for sex advice. Do not ask me for sex advice. Underqualified. I listen to that on the way to work, which is you're on the tram and you're like, and I see people on the tram and they're like, you can tell they're listening. And also Two Dope Queens, which is a comedian duo. Yeah, you recognise, because a lot of the work is all about serious and business and Simon Sinek and TED Talk and really awesome, valuable stuff. But you need to find people who are your jam. And then once you have that jam, you can be like, oh, cool, there are other weirdos out there like me. They're not all in my office, sadly. Some of them are. And also to give you perspective, just oh my God, it's not all about LinkedIn posts. Although you can pay me to do that. But really good question. There was a question here.
Coping with developing into that.
Yeah. something that I found reassuring, which is, again, it's easy to say, it's really hard to implement, is no one cares about you as much as you care about you. And not that you don't care about your daughter, but when your daughter and myself are thinking of, I'm going to post this, or I'm going to go to work, or go to university, no one's thinking, let's say her name is Stacey, for the cases of anonymity. I'm going to university, I wonder what Stacey's doing, I wonder what Stacey's wearing, I wonder what Stacey's going to do in her exam. Like, no one is actually thinking that. It's very hard to tell a 19-year-old that, though. Yeah, so I get that. And I think there's a lot to be said for, as a parent, something that my dad did really brilliantly was when I had my breakdown and I tried to go for a run and I ran down the drive and burst into tears. I was like, can't even go for a bloody run. And he said, you got out of bed today, Rach. Good for you. Which is like, yeah, I know you guys are rolling your eyes. But he just said, and you ran to the end of the drive. Something is better than nothing. And I was like, thanks, Dad. But I've actually used that even now, like something is better than nothing. So as a parent, just reassuring the little wins are okay. And as a parent, growing up, my dad, I always saw him as, pardon me, haven't really articulated this before, so it might come out a bit clumsy. Always saw him as really successful and had to have an office job and do lots of sales because he was in sales. And he just said, he's at one of New Zealand's most posh golf clubs with, the Prime Minister, Justin Timberlake, as his job. He just said, whatever makes you happy, Rach. But that's making coffee, good on you. Do you like it? Good people? And I found that took a weight off me. It is very challenging, though. I'm not a parent, so I can't give you advice. I can only reflect on my own.
It's also like really about my daughter for companies and how do you
Yeah.
cross the line?
Yeah, so a client of mine is a recruiter, and she has a clause in her business which is that anything that is publicly forward statements is a reflection of her as the employer. And so she is mindful that while she encourages her people to be out there and do what they like, bear in mind that anything you do impacts those who are around you. I think it's a common sense thing. If you're going to, have a great night out, just, put your privacy settings on. Still enjoy that freedom, but just be really careful with your privacy. And I think there's a lot to be said for, let's be out there and how open do we be? But not everyone is and shouldn't know our innermost secrets. Yeah, it's really challenging, but I think it's okay to, as you say, just do a little bit of your personality, but save your freak stuff for more privately locked down settings. Does anyone else as a social media person or as a parent have any advice here or any perspective to add? Because it's a really important topic. I have prepared my life for this question. And the answer is Destiny Child, Survivor. I think we can all relate, right? Good question.